About 65% of the Native people in the United States live off the reservation. Back in the day, it seemed like there was a kind of disconnect whether you were reservation or urban. And now, because there's such a significant number of Indigenous people living off the reservation, it becomes really important for Native students, Native young people to really learn more about their culture and preserve it.
See one, take one, grab one.
What was your life and culture like when you were younger, and how has it changed since you've grown up?
It's changed a lot because when I first entered public school in Waiala, my first language was Crow, and later on, somehow, some way, I learned the English. But like I said, it was kind of hard for me being a first grader with a non-Indian teacher, and my grandkids. I still talk to you guys in Crow, little basic words and stuff like that, and hardly anybody uses the language anymore, and that's kind of sad.
In some ways, it hasn't changed because those values are still there. But in some ways, it's changed because a lot of the elders, like when I was young, there were elders that were speaking the language or conducting ceremonies or that kind of thing, and those people are gone.
My relatives, a lot of them, they were told not to speak their language, and sometimes they were in boarding schools, etc. They were beat for doing that. And when my dad would get together with my grandma and my grandpa and others, they would be talking Indian, but the minute we came around, they would stop. And I could never figure out why they stopped. As I grew older, I thought about that, and what I think they were trying to do is they were trying to safeguard us, trying to keep us safe. They didn't want us to go through what they went through, so they just would stop and didn't really teach us that.
I think a positive way is that now there are young people who are living both on and off the reservation, and they're very much, I see more that they're more interested in learning about their culture and preserving their culture. So I think that's really important. I know that, for example, in Billings, there's approximately 2,000 Native students in the K through 12 school district. And that wouldn't have been the case 20, 30, 40 years ago.
What makes you proud to be Native American?
I love that question. That question, wow, it makes me very emotional to even think about it, because it's actually been a process for me. I grew up on the reservation many, many years ago. In my high school at that time, there were 102 graduates, and there were probably only about maybe 15 that were Native. So there were a lot of non-Natives in my high school. If you're in a school that is mostly white and the other white students are treated better or given more accolades or whatever the case might be, you find yourself thinking sometimes not good about being Indigenous, not good about being brown. Then it does start affecting your self-esteem, and you don't feel so proud. So then you have to really have faith and really hold on to your beliefs that you know are right, and then somehow they're there and they come up again. And so over the course of time, I'm grateful. I'm so, so, so grateful to be Native. And when I look at the history of what has happened to Native people, from about 1890 to maybe 1910, right in there were just over 200,000 Natives in the United States because of all the things that had happened: wars, disease, starvation. And somehow now there are between maybe 5 million to 9 million Natives in this country now. So to go from that low number back up to where we are now, that means that we're doing something right. That means that those values that we learned are still here. And that means that we're going to continue on. So I have to be proud of those things that some people tried to make me not proud of. And if you're talking about the city of Billings, if you are one of those 2,000 Native students in the school district, I hope you're proud.
Go ahead, grab. You're gonna lay it over the top of those ones. Kind of right where that, see where the top of the teepee is, right there? So you sit it right there. Like growing up, you know, my mom and my dad would explain to me like how important it was for me to be proud of who I am. You know, like in a sense I was taught to like just appreciate where I come from, be proud of who I am, and you know, like I try to speak as much Crow as I can to like my family, my kids, especially my newborn daughter. I kind of want her to like understand, you know, and proud that I'm Crow and Indigenous, you know, and that's what I always tell my sons too. You know, you got to be proud of who you are, where you come from, and you got to remember there's not a lot of us, so you're one of few. So be proud of where you come from. And you guys can move that teepee if you want. Stand on it. We're all gonna move at the same time, all right? Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, right there.
If any, could you share some challenges you've experienced as a Native Indigenous person in Billings?
Even at my age, I still felt the prejudice. There were some classes I took that you could tell you weren't really accepted, me being Native, and sometimes I was the only Native in the classroom, and I hated it when they put us into groups because even the older ladies would kind of turn their back, and that meant, oh, okay, they don't want me in that group. So that was kind of hard for me, and I think that was about the only thing. Otherwise, I didn't let anything, you know, get in my way.
Wada, duba, dawia, shoba, chacho, okay, agawia, sapwa, wadapa, dubapa, pilaga. So when I grew up in Lodgegrass, you're around family. Your next door neighbors are your aunties and your uncles, and so you know everybody in town. So in the school that you go to, whether it's elementary, middle school, or high school, you're in one school. So you know all the people, you know all your friends are your cousins or your siblings. But when I transferred up here to Billings and went to Skyview, there was probably the same amount of kids in the school that I had in my town. So when I showed up to Skyview, it was a huge culture shock. I felt like a black speck on a white piece of paper, Coming to a predominantly white school, it was hard because I also had a lot of interactions with different teachers that didn't understand my background.
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges, I guess, and most of them are all related to the misconceptions and stereotypes, you know, of Native Americans, and which I felt always limited us as being fully accepted, I guess, and on my part there was always some resistance to that as well. I mean, I still wanted to hold on to my nativeness, right? And so I think that's always a challenge in living in two worlds. Basically, you know, you're walking two different paths.
Is there obstacles or things that you guys have faced in the city as a Native student?
Mostly racism.
Yeah.
Yeah, for things I get like, you know, caught for things I didn't do. Or, you know, playing for when another person obviously did it.
Usually for like football games, I would they would pull my hair when I would get down,
Oh.
or they'd call me a redskin.
Oh man. On the field?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's sad.
Urban natives grow up basically on an island away from their people and their home and the people that love them the most. Like when you first start coming to Billings, like back at least when we were growing up, it's like you get here and people just stare at you and they just make you not feel like you belong here. Growing up in a city as an indigenous youth, of course you're removed away from your direct community. And I think it's impactful in many ways because those forms of understanding yourself, even in the relationships that you build with other people, they can be lost because in a lot of the structures in Native societies, those like ways of understanding are kind of built in the way that we do things and the way that we understand other people and treat other people at the same time. It's like not even philosophies, it's like actual teachings of the world that we go without just because we're not in our home community. It's like learning how to bead, learning how to braid hair in the right way. It's learning how to put up the teepee and understanding that piece of architecture as a technology, an age-old technology with teachings that are older than anything that's built around us.
You can hold the end. Now hold this side. You're gonna take that one to the bottom.
But as growing up, I'm realizing that there's so many more natives in Billings that I had even realized, thousands and thousands. It's a good thing because we're closer to resources. You know, back on the res, you don't have a Walmart, you know, within 5 miles. You don't have grocery stores with affordable food or clothing even. And so, you know, it hasn't always been hard. But you definitely sort of, at least in raising my kids in a similar way, I wish in a lot of ways that they would have had like the same experience I had growing up on the res, just that connection to family, like connection to community and that proximity to culture. Because once you're removed even, say, 50 miles away, you're worlds away. And I think maybe those are some of the hurdles and some of the harder things to deal with is you're making a choice to be closer to family and community and culture, or making a choice to be closer to resources and an easier life for your family and yourself.
Oh, you gotta stand on it. You gotta stand on the end. There you go.
Being in the city is kind of a catch-22 as a Native because there's goods and bads and there's cons and pros. So we have more resources in trying to find out whether who we are or how to live or to be more educated. But it's also a con because we're so far away from family that sometimes we get lost into the city life that we forget about our culture or our traditions. So like my boys, I call them urban Indians because they grew up in the city. They were born here in the city. They didn't get to experience reservation life. The only thing that they ever experience is going to powwows with me, or the stories that we tell them. But I get a lot of youth come from families that may not do that as well, or not teach those type of things. But I think because of what I've experienced, I'm trying to change that for myself and for my family. So like I said, every single one of you can change that too. So like if you don't know too much about your culture, I would, like I said, be curious about it and learn about it. That way when you guys have families or kids, you're able to pass those down and able to be sitting in this chair.
What advice would you give Native Indigenous youth growing up in Billings?
I believe, even though they live here, they still have relatives on the reservations. So if they could always, go back and even just to visit, and I always tell the kids, your grandparents are a history book. They have a lot of knowledge. We used to go to my grandpa's house, and after supper, he would sit all the kids around the table and tell us stories, but I was too young to remember everything, so I keep saying I wish I had a tape recorder back then.
Being in an urban setting, you can still figure out who you are. Regardless of what setting you're in, or where you live, or where you move to, you still have to be in tune with who you are. So I always tell the kids to be curious, like go talk to your grandmas or your aunties or your uncles. If you don't know your language, tell them to speak to you in your language, that way you can learn. Or practice words daily, or just to be more curious about your culture and trying to learn it, because if it dies out, who's gonna hold those things to teach other kids that wanna learn those things?
Regardless of your acculturation or your degree of assimilation, which relates to being in an urban setting, an off-reservation, it doesn't matter because you're still Indian, no matter what. You as a person, as an Indian person, and the pride and the honor and the nobleness of that Indian person doesn't change just because you're more assimilated and less traditional, or you're more traditional and less assimilated into the mainstream society. So as you grow older, you start to deal with that kind of thing and learn to overcome and be resilient on all the traumas that have happened to us as Indian people. And then also being the acceptance of other people as well, because we're here. We're mainstream society. We have a lot of non-Indians around us, and they're good people as well. And so they want to know about us and they want to support us, and it's good to have those relationships all the time and build those relationships no matter what. When we do the lighting of the teepees, we get people from all over the world, and they're asking crazy questions. Do you still live on a reservation? Can you carry guns? Do you guys get checks from the government? How come you have lighter skin? How come you have darker skin? How come you have long hair? What does a teepee mean? What does a lodge mean? So those are all questions. Some of them questions can make you upset, but I don't get upset. It gives me the opportunity to give them the correct knowledge they need to understand us as American Indian people.
I think Native youth growing up here in Billings need to know that they can be or do whatever they want to be, or do whatever they want to do. I mean, it's all there, but you have to want to do it, right? I mean, you should pursue it because it's possible, So I mean, the sky's the limit. I think a lot of times we don't know that. I didn't know. When I came off the reservation, I had really no knowledge of what that meant, but we need to pursue that and not get caught up in all the, I guess, negative things that happened in Billings as a Native American.
Youth have a power beyond. Sorry. I'm a school counselor, so it kind of hits my heart. That it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are, that there's a future, that there's, life is important. And your decisions today will affect you in the future. Doesn't matter how small your friends that you create or that you have, learn from your family, take your values and let it carry you throughout your life.
I would just say be proud of who you are. And the other thing is, don't let people tell you who you are. And if any people try to put you down for being an Indigenous person, call me. I'm a mean grandma now. I used to be really nice, but now I say what I need to. And I say it in a way that is not violent, but I'm pretty good with words, so it has its effects. So, Pidamea.
And thank you for sharing all your stories and memories with us.
Appreciate it. Do good. Do good in the world.
So like we, have been asking all of these Indigenous people what in Native American, Indigenous, whatever word you like to use, what it means to them, but I really want to know what it means to you guys.
Being a part of something, being part of your culture. That's what Indigenous means to me, I guess.
That's a good one.
For me, it means like being able to come together as like strangers and just bond together and be like a family, I guess, and just like get that weight lifted off your chest, like trying to fit in. And these are your people. You could just be who you are and just talk to them about anything. That's what it kind of means to me.
That's good.
Trying to understand not really what makes me Native American or Indigenous is those terms, but being proud of how we just exist, being proud of how we express ourselves in daily life. Because we are survivors, like all of us, every single one of us with Native blood. We're survivors of the survivors. We're what's left of those people who were here before. And there's so much history that has happened under our feet. And we walk around and drive around in these cities and these civilized areas now, and we forget that this is only basically come into existence in the last 150 years. And so when I think about what makes me proud to be a Native American, I think about all the heartache and all the hardships, but also all the joy and all the love that those people carried in the face of adversity. And when I think about what makes me proud to be Indigenous or Native American, it's all of that, all put into one, but it's also how do we protect this? How can we continue to be proud of who we are as we basically remember who we were and who we are and who we should be into the future? What is it going to look like? What is culture going to look like, and how do we define that, and how should we be proud of it? So I don't really understand it yet, but I love who we are. I love who I am, and I'm so fortunate to have that identity, because a lot of people don't have this story about themselves. They don't have a belonging or a sense of place. If we're able to tell our stories and not allowing others to tell our stories like it's been done for 200, 300, 400, 500 years now in this place, I think we have an ultimate opportunity to grasp our future and those opportunities for those generations to come.